It's a typical day in Hollywood, and a big name is about to sit down for an interview. Clint Eastwood, the legendary actor and director, has been a staple of American cinema for decades. With a career spanning more than 60 years, his name is practically synonymous with films like Dirty Harry, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Gran Torino. Over the years, Eastwood has built a legacy that few in Hollywood can rival. Now he's on the popular late-night show, The Talk, ready to discuss his career, his life, and maybe even a few personal details that fans haven't heard before. The host, a well-known television personality, has been preparing for this interview for weeks, but there's one question on his mind that he's been dying to ask. He knows it's bold, even risky. But when it comes to Clint Eastwood, sometimes bold is the best approach. As the cameras roll and the audience watches closely, the host begins with a few light questions, easing into the conversation. The mood is relaxed, but there's a hint of anticipation in the air. Everyone in the studio knows they're about to witness something special, something that could possibly change the way people think about Eastwood's entire career. But what no one expected was the moment that would spark a viral sensation. The host is about to ask Eastwood a question that many have wondered for years. Little did they know, this would be the moment that would capture the attention of millions. The host smiles at Clint Eastwood, the kind of smile that suggests he's about to dive into something a bit deeper. The audience falls silent, sensing that the mood is about to shift. "So, Clint," the host begins, his voice calm but with a hint of curiosity. "You've had an incredible career, and you've built a reputation that few could even dream of. But here's the thing. Do you ever think about your legacy? Do you worry about how you'll be remembered once you're gone?" There's a slight pause. The host leans forward slightly, as if eager for Eastwood's answer. The question hangs in the air, and the audience can almost feel the tension. It's a bold question, one that could make or break the interview. It's not the usual small talk that most celebrities are asked. It's personal. It's probing. The host continues, his tone now more direct. "I mean, you've shaped American cinema, but how do you feel about your place in history? Does it even matter to you?" The silence in the studio is deafening. You can see the wheels turning in Eastwood's mind. He's been asked tough questions before, but this one seems different. It's not just about his next film or his next big project. It's about something far bigger, the way he will be remembered by the world. The host sits back, waiting for Eastwood's response. The crowd waits in anticipation. Will Clint Eastwood, the man who's always been known for his quiet strength, give a candid, emotional answer? Or will he deflect, as he's done in the past? Clint Eastwood leans back in his chair, his eyes narrowing just slightly as he processes the question. He's been in the spotlight for years, and this moment feels different. The pressure of the question is clear, but Eastwood's calm demeanor doesn't waver. After a few seconds, he begins to speak, his voice steady, almost quiet. "I don't really think about my legacy, to be honest," he says, looking directly at the host, then out towards the audience. "I never have. I'm just doing the work that feels right to me." There's a pause as he lets his words sink in. The host seems taken aback by the simplicity of his response, but there's a depth to it that becomes more apparent with each passing second. "I don't make movies to be remembered," Eastwood continues, his tone firm but unassuming. "I make them because I have a story to tell. People talk about legacy, but what does that even mean? To me, it's not about what people say about me when I'm gone. It's about what I do while I'm here. I've always felt that way." The host listens intently, his expression changing from curiosity to respect. He's asking about one of the most legendary figures in Hollywood history, and yet Clint is approaching the question with complete honesty. He's not trying to impress anyone. He's simply speaking his truth. "I've been fortunate to work with some great people," Clint continues. "But at the end of the day, I'm just one guy. I'm not worried about how I'll be remembered. I'm just trying to do the best I can in each moment, on set, with the people I work with. That's what matters to me." The studio is silent. Eastwood's words hang in the air, simple yet profound. There's no bravado, no flashy statement, just a man who's been in the game long enough to know that fame and recognition are fleeting, but the work itself, what you leave behind in the form of art, is what truly matters. The host, clearly impressed, nods slowly. Wow, that's powerful, Clint. I think a lot of people would be surprised by that answer. The host sits back in his chair, clearly taken aback by Eastwood's calm and unexpected response. For a moment, he doesn't say anything. His mouth is slightly open, as if trying to process the weight of Clint's words. He looks at Eastwood with a newfound respect, but there's a glimmer of admiration in his eyes. The audience, too, seems stunned. They had expected an answer that would reflect the usual Hollywood humility, the one where a star talks about how they hope to inspire future generations, or how their work will live on forever. But Clint Eastwood's answer was far from that. It was raw. It was real. It wasn't the response people had been anticipating, but it was the one they needed to hear. The host finally breaks the silence, letting out a small chuckle. I guess that's why you're Clint Eastwood, he says, shaking his head. You don't do things like everyone else. The audience laughs softly, but it's clear they're not laughing at Clint. They're laughing with him, recognizing the wisdom behind his words. There's a palpable shift in the room. It's like they've just witnessed something rare. A moment of honesty from someone who's lived through decades of fame and hasn't let it change him. For the next few seconds, the audience remains silent, absorbing what they've just heard. You can almost feel the collective thought that everyone in the room is having. This is why Clint Eastwood is different. This is why he's still relevant after all these years. As the host nods thoughtfully, the camera pans across the audience, and you can see that many of them are quietly nodding in agreement. Clint Eastwood's words had hit home. The next morning, the clip of Clint Eastwood's response is everywhere. The moment has gone viral, spreading across social media platforms faster than anyone could have imagined. Fans, celebrities, and even news outlets are sharing his words, quoting him, and marveling at the honesty and depth of his answer. On Twitter, the hashtag #EastwoodLegacy begins trending worldwide. People are commenting, retweeting, and discussing his response in every corner of the internet. Some are calling it the most genuine answer they've ever heard from a Hollywood star. Others are captivated by how Clint turned the entire concept of legacy on its head. Across Instagram, clips of the interview are being shared, often with captions like, "The most honest thing you'll hear today," or "Clint Eastwood's wisdom is unmatched." His words resonate with so many people. His focus on doing the work, rather than worrying about how he'll be remembered, strikes a chord in a world where everyone seems obsessed with self-image and legacy. News outlets begin covering the moment as well. Articles are published with titles like, "Clint Eastwood rewrites the book on Hollywood legacy," and how Clint Eastwood's answer to a bold question became an instant classic. The interview clip is in countless blogs and websites, further cementing the viral nature of the moment. Celebrities start chiming in too. A-list actors and filmmakers are sharing their admiration for Eastwood's response. Some mention how his words have inspired them to rethink their own approach to their careers and their legacies. Even the host of the talk, who initially asked the question, is now resharing the clip, adding, "Couldn't have asked for a better response. Clint, you've truly set the bar." It's clear now that this moment will live far beyond the interview itself. Clint Eastwood's words are not just a reflection of his career, they're a cultural statement that transcends Hollywood. As the clip continues to make waves, discussions around Clint Eastwood's response begin to deepen. His words about legacy are not just a one-off statement. They're sparking broader conversations about the nature of fame, the passage of time, and what it truly means to leave a mark on the world. In interviews and articles that follow, journalists and experts start analyzing Clint's answer. Some discuss how his philosophy on legacy contrasts with the usual Hollywood narrative, the one where stars constantly worry about how they'll be remembered, building personal brands, and curating their image. Eastwood's perspective is refreshingly simple. Focus on the present, on doing meaningful work, and the rest will fall into place. I think Clint's words resonate because they remind us of a lost art in Hollywood, one film critic says. So many actors and directors today are consumed by their image, trying to craft a legacy while they're still working. Clint doesn't do that. He's lived his life, made his films, and now he's not interested in the end result. He's interested in what he's doing right now. Fans too start reflecting on Eastwood's approach to his career. Some express how they've been inspired to focus less on external validation and more on pursuing their passions. On forums and in social media comments, people start sharing how Eastwood's words have made them reconsider how they approach their own lives, whether that's in their work, relationships, or personal goals. The conversation expands beyond Hollywood. Philosophers, psychologists, and self-help gurus weigh in, discussing how Clint's answer speaks to a larger human truth. The idea that we can't control how we're remembered, but we can control the way we live our lives now. At the same time, Eastwood's words are becoming a kind of cultural touchstone. They challenge the modern obsession with fame, with building a legacy that outlives us. In a world where it feels like everyone is trying to craft their place in history, Clint Eastwood has made a statement that says it's not about that. It's about the work, the moments, and the experiences we create in real time. The viral moment isn't just a fleeting sensation, it's a conversation that keeps growing. Clint Eastwood's legacy, as it turns out, isn't something that needs to be defined by others. He's already defined it himself, quietly, through his actions. As Clint Eastwood's viral moment continues to ripple through the media, the impact of his words becomes even more evident. What started as a single interview question has now become a conversation that stretches far beyond Hollywood. Eastwood's philosophy on legacy has inspired a whole new wave of thinking, especially among younger generations. For many, Clint's response is a wake-up call. In a world where social media constantly pressures people to curate their image and build their personal brand, his message feels like a breath of fresh air. His refusal to obsess over legacy challenges the idea that success is about leaving behind a monument to your name. Instead, it's about focusing on what's important in the here and now, the work, the relationships, the stories you tell. Many young filmmakers and artists are now pointing to Eastwood as a role model. They admire his longevity in the industry and his ability to stay true to himself without getting caught up in the fame game. They see him as someone who doesn't need the world's validation to be content with his life and career. The impact doesn't just stop with filmmakers, though. Eastwood's words are inspiring individuals from all walks of life. Young professionals, students, and even everyday people are taking his message to heart. Many are now reflecting on their own careers and lives, deciding that they want to focus more on doing what they love, rather than chasing after external praise or recognition. Even the older generation, who has watched Eastwood grow from a young actor to a legendary director, are appreciating his honest perspective. For them, it's a reminder that it's never too late to shift focus from worrying about the future to simply living in the moment and doing the best you can in the present. Through one interview, Clint Eastwood has sparked a cultural shift. His influence extends beyond his films, reminding everyone that the true measure of success isn't what you leave behind, it's how you live today. As the buzz around Clint Eastwood's viral interview moment settles, its significance only grows. What began as a simple question has evolved into a cultural touchstone, one that challenges not only Hollywood's obsession with legacy, but the world's tendency to chase fleeting fame and recognition. Clint's answer will continue to echo for years to come. His wisdom reminds us that the true value of life and work isn't in how we are remembered, but in how we live in the present. It's a message that transcends Hollywood, reaching anyone trying to make sense of their place in the world. For Eastwood, his legacy was never about building monuments or creating a lasting image. It was about the work itself, the films, the stories, and the moments that will stay with people long after the credits roll. It's clear that his influence will live on, not in statues or awards, but in the hearts and minds of those who take his words to heart. And so, Clint Eastwood remains a legend, not just for the films he's made, but for the quiet, powerful way he's chosen to live his life, inspiring others to do the same.